Now we're continuing in the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in beginning of 1992, which was very shortly before, 2 months, whatever, before he had a stroke. That after that he couldn't speak anymore. So these are very important, very, how do you say, like a grand finale, sort of summary of all of the Rebbe's teachings and all the teachings of all of the Rebbe's of Chabad. In short, they're called Dvar Malchut because these are basically the words of the Moshiach telling us how to fix up the world and bring the redemption. Okay, so let's go back to this Mishnah. We just showed the Mishnah over here. Mishnah Brachos, right? This is the Mishnah Brachot. And here's the first Mishnah, when to read the Shema in the nighttime, when to read in the daytime, and then the argument between Hillel and Shammai, and how many blessings you say in front. Okay, here we go. Here's the fifth Mishnah in the first chapter of Brachot, right? So it says, you mentioned going out of Egypt in the nighttime. This is talking about when you say Shema Yisrael. We explained this yesterday, but I want to explain it again. You say Shema Yisrael, there's 3 paragraphs that we say when we say Shema Yisrael. 3 paragraphs. And they're written in different places in the Torah, these 3 paragraphs. Right? The last of the paragraphs is talking about tzitzit, the common of tzitzit. God says you should put on tzitzit, and it ends by saying, "I am God that took you out of Egypt." That's the third chapter of the third paragraph of Shema Yisrael. It starts off talking about tzitzit. You should put tzitzit on your garment. This tzitzit on your garment. You should see them. You should, etc. And then finally, in the end, it just ends up. Excuse me. With 2 paragraphs saying, "I am God that took you out of Egypt." I am God took you out. So the rabbis had a big argument. Should you say this third paragraph or not? Right? Because it talks about tzitzit, and you don't wear it. It should just in the night, because it talks about tzitzit, and tzitzit are not worn in the nighttime. There's no obligation to wear them in the nighttime. Not a commandment. Tzitzit are only on the daytime. There's an argument about that, if it means garments that are worn in the daytime. But nevertheless, tzitzit, the only commandment of wearing tzitzit is only in the daytime, not in the nighttime. So there was a doubt. Shema Yisrael, you have to say twice a day, once in the day and once in the night. When you say it in the nighttime, in the daytime, you say 3 paragraphs. When you say it in the nighttime, should you include this third paragraph? It talks about tzitzit. And tzitzit is only an obligation in the day, not in the night. It says, yeah, but it talks about going out of Egypt. Going out of Egypt is an important thing. So we'll talk about going out of Egypt somewhere else. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he wanted that it should be said in the nighttime also. Again, we have to use what we just finished learning in Lukuti Torah, that the Torah and the commandments are tremendously, tremendously important. They fulfill the whole purpose of the world, to bring godliness into the world. So to know exactly what to do, say in Shema Yisrael in the nighttime, is very, very important. And that's what the rabbis were arguing about. And each one of the rabbis' opinions is the opinion of God. This is Mishnah, like we said. Okay, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said that I am 70 years old, and I did not merit that we should say Shema, that the law should be like me, that we should say Shema Yisrael in the nighttime. You should say this third chapter of the third paragraph of the Shema Yisrael in the nighttime, until came along Ben Zoma. And Ben Zoma said, now, when did this all happen? This whole thing, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. This was the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was appointed to be the head of the Sanhedrin, which basically is the head of the Jewish people, because everything revolved around that. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he was chosen to be the head of the Jewish people. But he was the head of the Jewish people. He was the head of the Sanhedrin on that very day that he was chosen. As it says that he all of a sudden his beard became white. That's why he said, I look like somebody who's 70 years old. And on this day, Ben Zoma, he said, I've got something to say. I got something to say. So I got an inspiration. What's the inspiration? He said, There's a sentence in Deuteronomy, and it says you have to remember the day that you left Egypt. It's a commandment to remember every day, to remember going out of Egypt. You're supposed to remember it every day of your life. What does it say every day of your life? Say you should remember going out of Egypt, the days of your life. Days of your life, that's the daytime. All the days of your life, that includes the nighttime. That includes the nighttime. That's what the recall means, nighttime. The rabbis said, all the days of your life, that means this world, all the days of your life, as long as you're alive, the days of your life, but all the days of your life, this refers to even the days of the Mashiach, which the days of the Mashiach also includes the raising of the dead. And it said, we'll still say, remember going out of Egypt. Remember going out of Egypt. So the Rebbe wants to say that this is really not an argument, not an argument. Ben Zoma is stressing you have to say in the nighttime, and the rabbis agree with them, and they say not only in the nighttime you should say it, but also in the days of the Mashiach, when the Mashiach comes. Okay, and the Rebbe explained, why would we have to remember going out of Egypt in the days of the Mashiach? The days of the Mashiach are going to be so wonderful, so amazing, we're not going to think about it at all. Right? It's like a person that was sick, and he had an operation, and he got out of it, and then all of a sudden he becomes totally healed, right, 100%, and he becomes whatever it is. He lives to be he's 100 years old, and he's healthy like a person that's 20 years old, and he's not going to every day remember. Wow, I remember that operation that I had every day. I remember that operation. Remember it every day, right? Every day after remember, it goes another day. His children said, "Daddy, you didn't remember the operation." Oh yeah, right. Oh, I almost forgot the operation. Now, but every day you have to remember the operation. Okay, you had troubles in your life. Go on with life. Turn the page. Go on with life. The same thing is we got out of Egypt. Okay, so we got out of Egypt. Every day we have to remember it. And let's say you have to remember because we're still sick a little bit. We're still in exile. But after we get out of exile, so, okay, let bygones be bygones. You have to remember going out of Egypt. Even when Mashiach comes, then there's not going to be any problems at all. If we remember, we learned yesterday, the Rebbe said, yes, you do, because the whole idea of going out of Egypt is dealing with the world. Dealing with the world. Back then, we had to run away from the world. But in the future, when Mashiach comes, is we have to redeem everything in the world from exile. Remember, that's what we said. We have to remember that we're out of exile, but the world is not. We have to deal with the world, take the world out of exile, out of the exile. That's what the Rebbe said before. Okay, now let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue in the what we're learning. Here we go. Tomorrow we go. According to this, now we can understand what the Mishnah said, that it was Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, and that he said this law. This was the day that Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, he became the Nasi. The Nasi is the head of the Sanhedrin. It was called a Nasi. Now, the Nasi means essentially the highest person in Israel. Nasi means elevated. Chidusha shall Nasi b'Yisrael. The whole I say value of a Nasi. Nasi means in Israel, as Nasi is called the president of Israel, but that's not what it means. Nasi is not what it means. There was a famous thing with the Rebbe once, a letter that the Rebbe wrote to one of the presidents of Israel. What was his name? I don't remember which one it was. Anyway, one of the presidents of Israel, the Rebbe wrote him a letter. He wrote the Rebbe a letter, I think, to congratulate the Rebbe for his birthday. And the Rebbe wrote him a letter back, and I think it was Herzog or somebody. Anyway, he wrote him a letter back, and the Rebbe said, please excuse me for not calling you a Nasi, not calling you the president. In America, president shows on a lower sort of a level, a president. It's the same thing in, I guess maybe that's why they called it in Israel. They called it a Nasi. Because in Israel, there's the Rosh Memshalah. He's like the head of the government. And the Nasi is like under him. He's like the president. Same thing, I guess, in America. The president of the United States is not a king. He's not a king. He's only a president. Nasi. Okay, so the Rebbe said that's not what the word Nasi means. The Nasi really means a king. In Mishnah, whenever it says the Nasi, in the Torah also, says if the Nasi does a sin, the Nasi means the king. Nasi means the king. So the Rebbe wrote to him, he said, please excuse me for not calling you a Nasi. He said, but I was brought up to know that the Nasi is only one person could be called a Nasi, and that's the Mashiach. That's the Mashiach. And he wrote, interesting, the Rebbe wrote, you should know that before I was 3 years old, I already had it woven in my mind how Mashiach is going to come and explain all of the suffering of the Jewish people. That's a Nasi. They said, therefore, nothing against you personally, but you're not a Nasi. You're not the Mashiach. You're not explaining all the product. It's pale in comparison. It's a totally different thing. So the true term, what a Nasi is someone that's elevated over everyone else. Itnasut. This is to attach and to unify all of the days of your life of every single Jew and of all of the Jewish people, physical in the physical world, and especially now in the time of exile, to attach us all with Geula, the future redemption. That's the idea of Mashiach, is to elevate every Jew. Mashiach, in this case, is called the Nasi, the king, is to elevate, lift up all the Jews. Lift them all up. To make everybody think higher, think better. Nowadays, they have, you can look on the internet, they have all these inspirational, motivational speakers. Don't give up. Always continue. Every day to do more. To never become depressed. Don't be, in other words, lifting people up. Okay, that's lifting you up for a goal of succeeding in business, or making your marriage work, or working with your children. Those are good things. But here the Rebbe is talking about lifting us up as far as being Jewish, to elevate the whole world. The whole world has a purpose. The whole world has meaning. The whole world is essentially good. Man is essentially good. Don't give up. That's what the Nasi does to the Geula, to reveal the true good in every human being. You'd see it going out from any limitations and boundaries in general, and especially with the days of the Mashiach. The Geula mitit tashlema, then in the days of the Mashiach, then there's really going to be a true redemption and freedom of all mankind from their egotism and their pessimism and their negativity. After that, there won't be any more exile. Only the Nasi, only the Mashiach, the Nasi, he's got the power to join and to unite the exile with the redemption. And again, to remember, when we left Egypt, we decimated Egypt. Egypt was bad, you couldn't fix it up. The future redemption, nothing is going to have to be decimated. In the war of Gog and Magog, that could be World War II, was enough decimation, enough destruction, enough death. There doesn't have to be another one. The future redemption, nothing is going to have to be destroyed. It could be that the whole entire world will drop their destructive attitudes, and the whole entire world will turn to God. We say it in Aleinu 3 times a day. Yifnu elecha kol rish oretz. All the evil people will turn to you. And in even more detail, to join going out of Egypt back then to the days of the Mashiach, which are now, like they are in like kefi she'im b'matzav she'im behefsek shel galus peneim, going out of Egypt and the future redemption. In between, what do we have? We have the exile. Mashiach will take us out of the exile. He'll join the going out of Egypt with the future redemption as though there was no exile. Make them together. We'll remember the day that we went out of Egypt, all of the days of their life. What does it mean? Lahavi liyamot Mashiach, to bring to the days of the Mashiach. How are we going to make the exile as though it didn't exist? What do you mean it didn't exist? The exile didn't exist. We've been in exile for at least 2,000 years since the temple was destroyed. And we're going to make it as though we went out of Egypt, and here's the exile. How are we going to do it? It says that we're going to do it by every day thinking about Mashiach. So that in the life of a Jew, all the days of his life, as a soul and a body in this physical world, and now in the time of exile, will only be one goal: going out of all limitations, and even more, and that we can be, even right now, in the state of the days of the Mashiach. Therefore, specifically on the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he became the Nasi, which we say Nasi is the highest person in Israel. Ideally, that's the topic of Mashiach. On that day, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, what was he talking about? Going out of Egypt. The day that he became the head of Israel, the first thing he did was worry about going out of Egypt, how it's mentioned in the Torah. He talked about going out of Egypt, mentioning going out of Egypt, even in the nighttime of exile. Why? In order to bring to the true days of the Mashiach. That's the real purpose of the Torah. That's the purpose of a Nasi, the leader of the Jewish people. That's the purpose of creation. Yesh Lomar, we can say that this is also this is also why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he prefaced his statement, and he said, I am like someone who is 70 years old. Remember, let's look at the Mishnah again. Here we go. We talk about going out of Egypt in the nighttime. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, behold, I am like someone who is 70 years old. That's how he started off. And I did not merit to say going out of Egypt in the nighttime until Ben Zoma said. Oh, so why does it tell, why Elazar ben Azariah? What does it tell us about Elazar ben Azariah? And why does it start off by saying that I am 70 years old? What do we care about how old he was or what he looked like? It says, I'll tell you why. Because it says 70 years. The Gemara tells us that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, I am like 70 years old. And he didn't say, I am 70 years old, because in fact, he wasn't 70 years old. He was just someone who looked like 70 years old, because really he was only 18 years old. And there was a miracle that all of a sudden a hadru tamne sari, that there grew 18 lines of dari tavirta, the hairs that were white, 18 rows of white beard, right, of strips of white grew on his beard. Why? The story is that whatever reason it was, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was evicted. He was too severe, he was too this, and so they evicted him from being the head of the Sanhedrin. They said, who's going to be the head of the Sanhedrin? And finally, they picked Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And they said, yeah, but Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is a big problem because he's too young. People won't give him any honor. So he said, but he's the most fitting for the position. And what about being young? Nobody's going to give him honor. A miracle happened, and his beard turned white. 18 strands, 18 whatever his rows of white appeared on his beard. This indicated to everyone that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he was fitting to be the Nasi. He was fitting to be the head. Bioto ben Saros, because he had white hairs of being an elder. And an elder person, when he says what he's saying, he's not just saying from his own invention, but he's saying words that he heard from his experience. He has years of experience. So when everybody saw this big miracle, all the wise men, all the Chachamim, they knew that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was one of the Tanaim, right? They thought that they knew that he was a holy person, he was great, but they knew that he was 18 years old. And suddenly they grew up these white beards, so they knew that he was blessed by God. He was chosen by God. So it comes out that the completion, the wholesomeness of his being a Nasi, the head of the Jewish people, this somehow or other was attached to the number 70. 70 years. I mean, a person that's 60 years old is also an elder. Excuse me. Even 50 years old. Why do you have to say 70? The 70 must be important to the degree she'ad azdan, until 70 he is bilti hebit al kol mal yosef shel Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Less than 70, they wouldn't have looked at all. They wouldn't have considered all of his greatness and his good qualities. Right? The Havik Chacham, he was wise, he was rich. He was the 10th generation from Ezra HaSofer. Ezra HaSofer, the one that came up from the exile. He had all these amazing good qualities, but no one would have really considered them until he was 70. It says, and as soon as this miracle happened, the first thing he said was, I did not merit that you should say going out of Egypt in the nighttime until came along Ben Zoma. And that day, Rabbi Elazar ben Nazariah, he became a Nasi. So that day that he was chosen to be the head, all of a sudden his beard looked white. Suddenly he looked like a 70-year-old man. And suddenly he said, now I'm going to talk about the most important thing in my life, what I've been worried all my life, that I wanted to say the third chapter of Shema Yisrael that talks about going out of Egypt, even in the nighttime. And today, the law is like me. Okay, what all these things, let's put this all together. 70 with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, specifically him, and specifically that his beard became white, that's what they dealt with, was with this law about going out of Egypt. Here we go. The explanation is like this. 70 years, that's the completion of the life of man. Like it says, it says in Psalms, the days of our life are 70 years. If they're powerful, 80 years. 70 years is already considered to be a complete life. A person, God forbid, dies before 70, that's considered to be that he died young. Nowadays, it's common that people pass away at 90, even older than 90, but nevertheless, 70 years is a complete life. Shleimus hu b'kach, the completion is like this. Sha'arav doesn't mean like after that he's not worth anything, but it means that that's a level of completeness that a person achieves when he's 70 that he didn't have before. A person, at the age of 70, a person reaches to the service of refining all of his 7 emotions, his character, kafisha in bishleimuto, and they become, each one fills with 10 aspects of godliness, the 10 sfirot, each one of the 7 aspects of his emotions. Sheva kolol eser, 7 included with 10. That's 70. And even more detail, a person is given 70 years in order to fix himself up. The soul is put into the body that it's in order that the soul should be corrected. So a person is given 70 years to correct, as they are in Shlemos. They explain sometimes that's why sometimes people pass away young, is because they've completed their work, because the main thing of a person is the soul. And the soul is not completed until it does all of the good things it's supposed to do. And there's some people that they only have to be alive for a short amount of time to do the good things. That's an explanation. I mean, it doesn't comfort people that, the tragedy should not strike anybody. And that's a terrible tragedy. You can fix up the soul as much as you want to. But nevertheless, it's a terrible tragedy if a person dies young. So it says 70 years. Nowadays, 70 years is also young. 70 years. But nevertheless, 70 years is considered to be a full life. It's considered to be a full life. 71 is more full. 80 is more full. But 70 is a full life. Why? Because it gives the person an opportunity to fix up all of the 7 emotions that he has, 7 aspects of his personality in his animal soul. Anger, lust, the laziness, etc. And to fix up the soul, and also to fix up the bad things which are inside of yourself, right? Anger, the dishonesty, and this also consequently fixes up the 70 nations of the world, the non-Jews. By means of this service, a person can reach the level of 70. And that's the level of the ayin of Kedusha. Ayin means eye, eyeballs, eyes. And ayin is the numerical value of 70. In Hebrew, every letter has a numerical value. So Aleph is 1, and Yud is 10, and ayin is 70 of holiness. This is seeing godliness. Ayin is the eye, right? Until Shlemos, until you can completely see godliness, that's what's going to be in the future to come. Future to come. What did I do? Something. Oh, that's Yes. Similarly, there is also relevant to what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said. I am like 70 years old. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, in order that he could be the leader, the head, the highest of the Jewish people, he had to reach this level of completion of 70. Namely, that he had refined all of the things of the world, which is divided into 70, like we said, the 70 nations. And this was given to him, this gives him the power that could be by him, that he could say going out of Egypt in the nighttime. That he was able to have an effect to change even the nighttime. He could bring going out of Egypt, namely the redemption from Egypt, even when he is in a situation of this physical world, which is nighttime. In addition, Nosaf Alavuda Bazu, including the service in every single day, right? Nosaf Alavoda, serving every day. In other words, every day to bring the going out of Egypt into the physical world, into the darkness, until Kol Yamei Chayecha, to the degree that every day of your life will only be devoted to bringing to the days of the Mashiach. Something like the future redemption. And this will be made the completion of the refinement of the 70 nations of the world. Hagila the Shivim, that all of the nations, every single human being in the world will come to be connected to his creator. Everyone in the world will constantly feel the reason I am being created. They'll be, and that God is empowering me. No one will feel alone. Everyone will feel important. Every human being, even the last second of life, will be important because it'll be filled with meaning, godliness, a miracle. Every instant of life is a big miracle. That's the idea of going out of Egypt. And that's what he worked at all the days of his life. And that he wanted that, that's the ayin, that's the seeing of above. It says, your eyes will see God. Your eyes will see your teacher. Often in a way that godliness will be revealed and everywhere. Everyone will feel that they're being created. And there will be revealed the glory of God, and all flesh will see together that God is the one that's speaking. A prophecy from Isaiah. Where is it? It was Isaiah. And this is the 30th chapter, is the 40th chapter. We can add this on. We can also, that's the whole idea of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, his name. His name is not Eliad, I'm going to say El Azar. El Azar means El Azar, God will help. Kale, God, Azar will help. And also his last name is Azar Yudke, and will help. Also another name of God. The name of Azar will help God. El Azar ben Azariah. This is God will help and help God. This is a joining together of both of them together. That God helps Kale Azar and Azar Yudke. Yudke is the first two letters of God's name. In a way that the main thing is help. That God helps us. El Azar Mikabel Miben Azariah. That El Azar is, it says, what's his name? El Azar, that says God will help, the son of Azar Yudke. El Azar, God helping, is the son he receives from his father. Who is his father? Was Azar Yudke. Or mainly, the main thing is the main thing of Elazar is that he is the son of Azar Yudke, namely drawing down the help of God into the world. The Yafeh Koach Haben, it says that the son has more power than the father does. And he was the son of Azar Yudke. Ad Pirish, like Ben Chorin, like we say, Ben Chorin means a person, Ben means a son of, and Ben means that he is like relevant to, like Bar Mitzvah, Ben Mitzvah, he's relevant to the commandments. Ben, he says, Shemitziuto, the whole existence of Elazar he was Ben Azariah. his whole existence, he was relevant to God God helping us. Like, for instance, also in our case, Shemitziuto, the whole existence of this rabbi Elazar, is what Azariah. He was like a person who's a bar mitzvah, ben mitzvah. He's 13 years old. The whole existence of Elazar was that he was helped by God. That's his whole being. He's now a new being, like a child becomes a ben mitzvah. He's now a new being. He's 13 years old, relevant. Elazar ben Azariah, his whole being is that God is helping us. I know, namely, that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he has help, special help from God. And as God is above the world, whether from the name of Kael, that's the one name of God, El, that's El Azar, or whether from the name Yudke, Azar Yudke, that these two names, they indicate on two different levels which are above the creation, and how they help us, each and every person. How much more so Elazar ben Azariah, you put them both together. Elazar ben Azariah, that you put them together. Now, the Rebbe is talking about this one particular person, but this one particular person, he is essentially every person. Because Elazar ben Azariah, the whole idea of Mashiach is to reveal the Mashiach which is inside of each one of us. How God is helping us, and God is creating us, and God loves us. God is encouraging us, and he's empowering us. We're not alone. From there, we receive help from God to be Nasi. That's how he became the leader of the Jewish people, and to give power to the Jewish people that they can also do the service to go out of Egypt, bring the total redemption into the days, into every day, and even into the night. So it says we're talking about going out of Egypt, even in the nighttime. And not just to bring, but also it says to Lahavili Amot Mashiach. Not just God should give us the days of the Mashiach, but we should also bring to all of the days of the Mashiach. Every minute of our life should be another step in progress to accomplish this goal of bringing the days of the Mashiach. How do we do it? By simply living with the fact of the days of the Mashiach now. Elazar ben Azariah, that God is helping us. And God is helping us in ways we can't possibly believe. And to be open to that, that's already the redemption. Like God took us out of Egypt, God will take us out of our own inferiority complexes. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Here we go.